this is my time. Faster than ever, hungry and I'm going to come back and take what is mine. Bigger and better. It's a new dawn, it's a new day. Some things are different, but nothing has changed. Still got my number, still got my name. Tell everybody I'm back in the game. Saddle, cut to the chase. I ain't somebody who stays in one place. Ready to go, I'm coming to play. You better know I still got something to say. It's a new dawn, it's a new day. Some things are different, but nothing has changed. Still got my number, still got my name. Tell everybody I'm back in the game.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a little bit of a different night here for the Crown Jewel the late model stock car series. This is week number 7, race number 9 of the season, and it's the last race of the Virginia Triple Crown for that of the Valley Star 300. It's been cut down. It was originally scheduled for a 200-lap race. It is now down to 150 laps. The stages have also been modified here just slightly. There's been some errors that have been going on, but we think that we've got all of the situations for the session figured out. We're set up. The laps are going to be odd. We'll talk more on that. But tonight on LSRTV, it's short track racing on Wednesday night. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Justin Prince with LSRTV Studios in the background. Justin, tonight going to be a little bit different, but still short track racing with the late models.
It should be a wild one to say the very least, because when it comes to the paperclip, contact is always something that's prevalent at this racetrack, but it's also a racetrack in turn that is so difficult to master because it is a rhythm racetrack with the concrete in the turns and being able to hit your braking marks just precisely enough to where you don't launch it every time into the back bumper of your next closest competitor. It takes a lot of precise movement to be able to win here at the paperclip.
Paperclip is going to be one of those races here tonight. Second to last race of the season, a 10-race season in total, where we've seen a lot of different winners. And tonight we're going to have a couple of them coming back. As the time is dwindling down, we're going to have a little bit of a smaller field than what we've had previously, and a couple of new drivers racing. Speaking of one of those drivers, we had that of Caleb Hall going to be racing in the race control as a driver for our LCQ last race. But now he's actually going to be racing for these drivers here tonight. So, Justin, that's going to be something different. Is we're going to have a couple of new drivers here this evening. They're going to be testing the waters here at Martinsville.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be an intriguing run, to say the very least, for a few of those newcomers, because some of them have shown some good speed in the practice. Chase Johnson in particular, we've seen a little bit of in the past in the short track scene. Keep an eye on him towards the mid-pack potentially. Preston DeMello amongst those, who is very well known in the scene as well. So a lot of different drivers ready to showcase what they can do here tonight at the Paperclip.
As time is dwindling down, drivers have been notified we are advancing. So, as you can see, we went from that of just 2 minutes, 3 minutes left, to getting ready for race time. And this is when things are going to be a little bit interesting as the drivers are getting gridded up and ready to get rolling. There will be no invert because of the fact that we are only going to be having that of 13 drivers in total. Decided to scrap it. No invert here this evening, meaning that these drivers, wherever they qualified, is where they're going to be starting. So drivers were putting down their fastest, and Alex McCullum taking the pole award here this evening for row number 1. Then it's going to be Dustin Momberket to his outside for row number 1. Row 2 going to be finding out of Justin Brooks in the 33, and race control going to be seeing now Caleb Kinfray in that 000. Row number 3 going to be finding us with Peyton Powell as well as Timmy Holmes in the 67. With row number 4 going to be Chase Johnson as well as Bradley Wilson. Row number 5 going to be bringing us that of Hunter Harrett as well as Preston DeMello in the 28. And row number 6 going to be that of Steele Langford and that of Dale Adamson. And finishing out the last driver going to be Dalton Collins in the 95. 13 drivers in total. And Justin, there was curious thoughts because we knew there were some other league races that drivers are getting ready for. So there was always the chance of this field being to be a little bit smaller. But there are still a lot of fast drivers that decided to come and race here this evening.
Yeah, this is going to be a very busy fight, I think, especially amongst your top 4, because even though he's race control, that outside row 2 driver in Caleb Hall led the way in practice most of the session until McCollum and Momberket came in. So keep an eye on that top 4 grouping, because they are likely going to have a dogfight to try and battle for the race lead right from the jump with how things are playing out and how things have played out this season and across the platform amongst them.
And we talked about the fact that this race has been shrunk. It was originally scheduled for 200 laps. It's now only going to be 150 laps. Stage break at lap 50 and as well stage break at lap 110 for these drivers. So they're going to have to keep that in mind, as those are the only moments that they're going to be able to get themselves into a chance of getting their tires out at those stage breaks. But another thing to note, you saw there for a quick second, laps. A little bit of issues of trying to get things situated, as it will say 300. But we will only be racing to lap 150. That is our number for these drivers, as getting ready to get rolling, as it's going to be that of Alex McCullum, Dustin Momberket, Justin Brooks, race control, Peyton Howell, as a few drivers missing out here, as it's going to be that of Timmy Holmes, Chase Johnson, Peyton, as well as going to be seeing a couple of others missing out. This is going to be a much smaller field than even expected, Justin. This is going to be interesting on how they get rolling.
Still a pretty stacked field in general, though, because many of the drivers have ran top 10 this season. Dustin Momberket, though, has already hit the wall, it looks like, because during the pace lap coming out of turn 2 here, Momberket scraped the right front fender. Not the way Momberket may have wanted this night to fare out with a new look tonight.
No fast repair, meaning he's going to deal with this damage, get himself prepared, as drivers are getting a little antsy. They've been waiting. This race was supposed to start about 20 minutes ago, a little bit delayed on getting the session ready. So drivers have been antsy. They've been ready to go. We've been ready up in the booth for a while. Pace cars, we're getting them set. And it's Alex McCullum going to get them on the roaring pedal here as the Valley Stars 400 for these drivers here tonight. Race number 9 is green at Martinsville for that of the Crown Jewel E Late Model Stock Car Series. As they roar down into turn number 1, our front 5 all looking good as, oh boys, the 51 and others spilling in the back.
One driver off into the inside wall, slamming the wall. It's Hunter Harriet. That's the end of Harriet's night. 8 drivers still running. McCollum with a good launch coming out of the front straightaway. Battle for second is on.
Well, we thought 13 drivers. We're down just to 8, but our front drivers, they're the ones that have been putting on the show all season long. And it's going to be Race Control getting into the mix here that's trying to give a little bit of flair as that of Justin Brooks and Dustin Mauberquet side by side coming out of the front stretch. Lap number 3 is done. Alex McCullum loving the fresh air, but it's that of Dustin Mauberquet just cannot get to the inside lane.
Very bottom groove racetrack where if you lose the bottom, you're likely going backwards, especially with the downforce levels. When it comes to late model stock, Mauberquet sends it to the back bumper of Howell. Howell holds on in the Road to Gems coffee machine. Still, though, Mauberquet, despite its success at Sunset, looking to try and hold on in the virtual world, already to the back half of the field, still running and trying to defend for 5th.
But here's going to be a driver, Steele Langford, in the 133, who's been strong, very aggressive at times, and certainly going to fluster that 16 machine of Mauberquet, but able to settle down at the moment. Peyton Howell, 0.52, great run for himself. Again, want to let an audience remember, we are racing to lap 150. That will conclude this race. A little bit of errors on setting up the laps. 150 is our go, and stage 1 will be at lap 50 for these drivers. So a lot of patience needs to be shown here, but with how fast this track could be if we stay green, I think all these drivers know you can be patient for maybe about 10 to 15 laps, but then you got to make the pressure, and here comes Mauberquet to the inside.
Mauberquet pays the price, gets a huge shot from Steele Langford. Langford holds on to it. Damage now to the back end of Mauberquet's machine and to the front end. Mauberquet's machine really looking like, well, a car at Martinsville. And it's only lap 7. Still, Mauberquet going to have to deal with that the rest of the way here as he drops it into the corner.
Well, this is so interesting just to watch, though, because for Mauberquet, he's been notoriously known for keeping that 16 clean for most of this race, but he's now going to be still pressured by that of Steele Langford, and as well going to be having that of Bradley Wilson getting into the mix as our top 7 all within that of 2.6 seconds of our leader of Alex McCullum, who's basically still shot out of a cannon and going to be up 0.8 seconds over that of Justin Brooks.
McCullum looking very strong in the 20.4s. The battle for position in the 20.6 is contact again. Mauberquet loses the top. Here comes Langford with the run. Langford tries to late arc it, nearly loops it instead as well. Langford holds on to it. Langford to the back end of the train as a result to 7th.
What this season has given us is great saves after great saves, and once again, it's going to be Peyton Howell with that of C. Mauberquet no longer pressured by Langford, and they'll be able to just focus on the driver in front of him, the 52. Once again, the patience level. How long can you stay in this position? Or will Mauberquet feel like he needs to get aggressive, use the chrome horn a little bit harder, and try to get the 52 either out of the groove or spun around? It's going to be a big question to watch out, but you can tell, Justin, Mauberquet, he wants to give the bumper just a little bit more, but at the same time, he's already so damaged.
Yeah, and wanting to really push the issue on the 52, who's already picking up damage as a result here from a lot of the bumping. Here's the thing, the bump and run, very commonplace at Martinsville. But what's the code? Once, you're there. Second, okay, I want to go. What happens when you reach the 3rd time? Well, we're at about nearly the 3rd time. Here comes Mauberquet, nearly turning Howell off the corner.
Well, there's number 3, and also going to be seeing that of Bradley Wilson get in the mix, and I think for Mauberquet, it's now go time. He's already given the warning. He's given multiple warnings and almost spun out the 0.52, but Howell continues to stay stable. But for how long is the question? We're 16 laps in, and it's going to be still that of Alex McCullum leading by over a second over Justin Brooks. It's a good gap all the way through the field, but this is the closest battle on track. Again, we are down to just 8 drivers on track, so a much smaller field for these drivers for themselves, but Mauberquet still laying down the pressure on that back bumper.
Still wanting to find a way around Howell. Howell trying to make sure that the coffee beans don't get burnt up here by the back bumper. Marquette in with the front bumper, smacking the back end of the 52. Still holding on still is Howell. They've nearly lost touch to Hall with all this battling, keep in mind. In the race control car, battle is on behind them. Langford and Wilson side by side.
And Langford, very clean pass on the 51, trying to confirm this position for himself. But still Langford right back to the position he was in. He made a very aggressive move on Marquette that hit him. He lost the position and has worked his way forward, but there's Marquette finally using the bumper, gets the 52 out of shape and able to get to the inside, clearing for position. And Langford diving it down low, making the contact, and more bumping off one another. And at the worst, goes to Howell into the outside.
Howell trying to left by Marquette. Healy tried to pay the favor with the bumper and pays the price. Bradley Wilson says, thank you, that's a good deal for me. Up to fourth position, a +4 in the race. Langford also jumping on through as a result as they look to battle for fourth position. Off a 2.
And Justin, I'm getting curious about, for Steele Langford, how aggressive he is diving into these corners. I mean, those tires are going to get toasty at some point. And that 133, I mean, these dive bombs aren't going to stick like they used to. And I'm curious, at what point is he going to feel like these dive bombs aren't going to work? And he's just going to have to use up the other drivers like he's been doing so far.
Yeah, Langford really trying to go deep in the corners. The long run is where that's going to really cost him. Short run and mid run, it's okay. This is not okay. A leaning on Wilson from Langford. Marquette joins the party as a result. Langford strips his way around the bottom. Wilson gives plenty of space as Marquette tries to jump up to fifth.
And really, for that Wilson, recognizing this is not a safe place to be. And there he goes. Tries to be safe, give room and contact all plenty as everyone's just bouncing off each other and racing practically for nothing back here, but they certainly are making it look like it's the battle for the lead.
Everyone driving with their emotions on their sleeves and all around the bumpers and the panels of the race cars at the moment. Wilson this time, the innocent bystander in all this, trying to keep it clean now in the Shenandoah Shine Machine, riding on in 7th, watching to see how the fireworks could go off as both the 16 and the 052, they are demolished.
I mean, just wrap up, but the big thing that they're always going to be thinking about is, as long as I've got 4 tires and a full engine that's at full song, full power, I've still got an opportunity and a chance. And it's what we're seeing from Marquette. He might be being battered and bruised, but at least the 16 is closing in on that of Peyton Howell. And Bradley Wilson, who's been Mr. Patient, yes, has been dinged around a couple of times, but he's slowly starting to just ride along. And I think that patience for the 51, as long as he doesn't get caught up in another mess, he's got an opportunity for a decent finish, as long as the other drivers start to just take each other out like we've been seeing.
Bump and run from Marquette. Meanwhile, could this be another moment? Wilson keeping the eyes open as Marquette turns him. Marquette turns Howell. Wilson drives by. No caution. We stay green.
Gets it straightened out for the 52, but that's a hard ding to the side panel for that of Peyton Howell. And Howell was trying to give a little bit more space that go around, and for Marquette just said, get out of my way, I'm tired of playing games. And we stay green. 25 laps in, we are now halfway through stage number 1. Again, this race is going to conclude at that of lap 150, but for stage 1 itself is at lap 50. So these drivers trying to race to that first stage, and it's all looking like Alex McCullum for now, but certainly the back half of the field has been where all the action and dramas have been filling up.
Yeah, fifth on back has been extremely wild, to say the very least, here tonight. And the question is, how will this play out the rest of the way? Steele Langford, meanwhile, has pulled off and away. Lost touch, however, to Caleb Paul as Langford looks to keep it clean. Marquette, about a second and a half, nearly back of the 33 on track. As Langford tries to drift his way around the corners. That tire wear starting to really pop up, though.
And as these drivers continue to race on, yellow flag will be thrown. Reason is because we have a very slow machine, that of the 046, who's going to be slow for himself, and race control going to be throwing the yellow, trying to reset all these drivers back up with one another.
That is Dale Adamson, who is a newcomer to this campaign as well. So the Moonlight Speed Machine brings out the first caution of the night. About 20 laps to go coming up already in this first stage. This is not what McCollum wanted to see, I don't think, because that lead was nearly 2 seconds. Brooks, a good opportunity is, quite simply, it's been a struggle so far for Adamson. Adamson through 1 and 2, just having an issue on the corner entry.
And as the driver's coming into pit row, there's a couple that just came in. That of Peyton Howell, as that's the spill that brought out our caution. Peyton Howell's going to come to pit road. Same for that of Steele Langford. Going to be coming in, getting themselves some slight repairs. And I was curious about this. Steele Langford is taking tires currently, and technically you're not supposed to be taking tires at this moment, but he's going to be taking 2 right sides for himself for that of the 133. Technically, if you're taking tires at this moment, you would be getting penalized, but because Race Control's racing, they're not going to be able to see this.
Well, they're going to definitely hear about it possibly now, as Montburquette's also coming in with Adamson. Peyton Howell has parked it after the craziness we've seen moments ago. Adamson getting the lucky dog. We'll see if there is a call towards that way. Montburquette has indicated he wants to park the 16 machine as well. So it's been a wild night, to say the very least, amongst the field. And the McCollum and Brooks show, about to see how things play out here. The battle of the orange and black car versus the blue, yellow, and black machine of Brooks. With a brand new look, mind you, for the Justin Brooks Designs back machine behind that 8.
Yeah, going with the different looks for these drivers. It always is interesting seeing how they come around with these schemes. Some taken away from their real life colors, others just testing out what their sponsors give them. But I do also want to give note, if Dustin Montburquette and also that of Dale Adamson, if they can both get on track, as Adamson does, both of them as well taking tires. So I think drivers are recognizing, because Race Control is not keeping a close eye, we can maybe scave under the rule book.
We'll see if that's looked upon absolutely later on, as Montburquette is keeping on going. The bye appears to have been direction of one other person that was in sim. Montburquette tries to catch up to the pack. Choose code coming up on the front straightaway for the upcoming restart.
And because there is no choose car, that usually was the Race Control machine, drivers get to make their decisions coming across the line on where they want to be, and it's going to be Race Control of Hull who's going to be deciding to take the outer lane. Same for that of Wilson and that of Adamson as well. So we're going to be seeing a good split on where drivers want to be in that 51. I like the call from that of Bradley Wilson, but that's if he's able to get a good launch here on this restart.
That's the mighty if right now. Remember, some of the drivers up on the top immediately got shuffled to the back of the pack. How will things go? A column inside, outside Caleb Hall. Green flag waits up with the stand. We're back to racing from Martinsville as Hall jumps ahead.
And that of Hall, I mean, a great launch for Race Control, and he's now going to find a little bit of spacing to get down. Won't get it. Brooks going to be stuffed right in the corner, and for all that battling, big thing to watch out for that of the 133, the 16, and the 046 is a lot of bumping of Race Control. They're getting shuffled, and there it goes down the inside.
A big save from Caleb Hall, just avoids the wall. Here comes Langford to give the favor to the bumper. Langford gets bumped by Justin Brooks. Wilson nearly gets squished to the wall. McCollum looks to run away as Caleb Hall looks to late break his way in, misses the corner as Langford jumps to second.
Big thing for Langford again. He has cheated. He's taken 2 tires, so he's going to be having the advantage over the drivers around him. Everyone else, I don't know if they know that he's got this advantage unless they have our stream up and listening.
There's a lot to consider, but right now for the racing on hand, Langford looking to close up. Caleb Hall looking to play defense. Brooks on the back bumper. Montburquette looking to force his way through potentially as well. Looking to try the diamond line as Montburquette. 5 cars train up for the battle for third as they go down the back straightaway. Here comes Montburquette to the back bumper nearly a Brooks.
And Montburquette as well as Langford, they both have been just so aggressive here of late, and now they've got fresher tires than the drivers in front of them. No surprise, big block there by Justin Brooks. As the 16 dives it down low, he's got the rubber, and it's going to stick. Montburquette moving forward into 4th.
And the late arc given for Montburquette to pay the favor as Wilson tries to clear on the outside now. Will that work? No. Dale Adamson all of a sudden has picked up a lot of rhythm this second run of the race, Sam, as well. Last run, he was 10, 14 seconds back before the spin. Adamson's now making a pass on the bottom.
Yeah, and he's also going to have that fresher rubber than we've been seeing as racing hard for that third as well for the lead. At the same exact time, Steele Langford going to be taking the pass on the 8 and Marquette up to third.
Langford taking advantage on the bottom. Caleb Hall gets shuffled out by Marquette. Langford looks to run off and away after the 2 tires stop during the caution. 10 laps to go coming up in the stage.
As these drivers keep on racing, Steele Langford, question is, will he come down again at the stage break and come in for tires? Or will he continue to keep this track position as Alex McCollum, who had such a large lead, and Justin, you brought it up when the yellow came out. I mean, that lead was over 1.6 seconds. It was taken away, and with this restart, now the lead is gone from Steele Langford.
It's exactly what McCollum didn't want to see, with how dominant McCollum's run had been before that mark. But now, at this mark, the battles are still on. Caleb Hall trying to defend Justin Brooks. He was in second, remember, Brooks was before the caution. Brooks has now been catapulted down the running order, the back end of the lead pack. Still can't find a way around Caleb Hall in turn, despite the fact everyone, including both of them in this instance there, dragging that right rear quarter panel, it seems, up against the safer barrier, trying to get the perfect arc.
Right, every little thing, as Justin Brooks, as well as the race control vehicle of Caleb Hall, both going to be racing hard against one another. And really, the speed between these two have been pretty equal throughout practice and also during that of qualifying. But we saw that Marquette and Steele Langford getting frisky with one another. I wonder how patient Justin Brooks will be, recognizing that we still got a lot of racing to go as we're coming up to 6 laps to go at this stage.
45 overall out of the 150. Again, a drift for Hall. Here comes Brooks. Brooks says thank you. Brooks tries to get the pull. Hall tries to defend, hits the wall again. Both of them near even on the brakes this time as the squeeze comes from Hall, but Brooks has the preferred line for the start and finish line.
Going to be across the line. Advantage goes to the 33 of Brooks, but into turn number 1, able to just dive it in and have that preferred lane, and out of the corner, going to be clear for a second, but here comes that run on the outside. Hall is going to keep it at least in the outer quarter panel, but just not enough speed. That outside lane just not strong enough. Justin Brooks back up to passing race control, but only up to 4th as the battle for second about to be raging on it, but looks like for that of Hall, he's not giving up just yet.
Still not backing down, but Marquette ready to rise up. McCollum drifts the tires. McCollum with the slide. Here comes Marquette. Marquette elects to stay tucked in line. Still riding the bottom, now rides the back bumper of McCollum as McCollum drops to 3rd.
And really, it's all that of Marquette. Frustration with Steele Langford. I think it might just be that of the focus. All he sees is that 133 in blood, and he wants to get at it. Steele Langford, he better hope that he can get rolling here as these laps continue to dwindle away. 2 laps to go here for stage number 1, as it's going to be Steele Langford leading for now, but it's only a half a second gap lead to that of Dustin Marquette. Both these drivers did take tires under that last yellow when they were not supposed to. You're only supposed to take that of tires at the stage break as we're on our last lap of stage number 1.
Marquette trying to get up there, trying to close up 3 car lengths, nearly smacks the wall down. Langford looks to run off and away from the back of the field to the front. A span of 50 laps for the end of the first stage.
Out of turn number 4, and Steele Langford across the line. Going to be taking stage number 1 as the stage break yellow comes out here this evening. As Steele Langford, Dustin Marquette, that of Alex McCollum, that of Justin Brooks, race control of Caleb Hall, and that of Dale Adamson. Going to be our top 6 drivers that are still out there on track as stage 1 is done. Here for that of our 9th race of the season, as this is our last race of the Virginia Triple Crown events. Our other 2 races were both won by that of Ryan Kuhn, and Ryan Kuhn not able to make tonight's event, but certainly could be seeing some of these drivers. No surprise, into pit road, going to be getting some tires in for that of Langford and Monberquette, and the rest of the field as well going to be following suit. I think everyone might now be under the same understanding of, hey, let's just take tires where there's really only 6 of us. Let's just get as many tires as we want.
6 drivers remaining, 2 on the racetrack here as they roll their way out to the pit boxes. Some of them really pushing the fine limits of the speeds, to say the least. As now, Langford and Munstill's in the box. Monberquette overran his stall, so did Justin Brooks. 2 mistakes in the pit lane as the tires are being rolled onto some of the race cars. 2 tires again taken from Langford, as McCollum looks to be amongst those, possibly taking the 4 tires. Yes, indeed.
I'm curious, Justin, on your thoughts on the 2 tire stop here at Martinsville compared to the 4 tires that these drivers are going to be getting. I mean, I would imagine 4 tires would be the better option for the majority of these drivers.
Well, it is in terms of the grip, absolutely. But here's the thing to consider in that, Mark. It's good, actually, for the 2 tires for 25 laps. Say you're having precautions and you elect to come in. You can make the 2 tires stick around the racetrack, then it gets very loose depending on the side of the tires you took there. So in other words, 4 tires, long run, you want it. Short run, the 2 tires, you can make it work.
Drivers racing their way to the base car, ready to go, and going to be seeing everyone stacking up. Going to be after pit stop, Steele Langford, Alex McCollum. Going to be that of Caleb Hall in the race control, 000. With Dustin Monberquette going to be in 4th with Justin Brooks and Dale Adamson. Going to be our 6 drivers as we are 1/3 down of this race. Next stage break going to be at that of lap 110 for the field. So going to have a little bit of a longer dash here to get rolling. But Justin, I got a feeling that the fireworks aren't done just yet.
Especially with some of the drivers up in contention. Langford, we've talked about his strategy. Has a bit of an offset on tires by about 25 green flag laps. We'll see how it works out. Monberquette not been afraid with the contact. McCollum's been lightning rod quick. And Caleb Hall, he's been trying to make that outside work. Very committed to that for the restart.
As we're ready to get rolling once again, race number 9 of the season here at Martinsville for that of the Crown Jewel Elite Model Stock Car Series, as they're bouncing off one another in out of the corner, and they're still side by side. Still Langford race control. Let's almost think about 3 watt for a second there.
Colm thinks better of it as they drift their way out of turn 4. Leaning on the side of Hall is Langford. Langford trying to go for a later arc. Monberquette trying to figure out the arc from the higher line as well. Near bumper to bumper again as all 6 cars covered under a blanket. Hall still not giving up for the race lead.
Big thanks to Langford. He's been shown here tonight, willing to beat and bang. Monberquette, though, bouncing off the outside wall out of the exit of turn 4. We're still side by side for the lead. And Langford, he's got the nose out of the corner, but that pinch so strong. But it's going to be Caleb Hall somehow still fighting.
Still fighting and now still bumping. McComb tries to push both of them. Turns Langford out of the way. In front of the pack, caution flag is out as Caleb Hall takes the lead with that incident.
Justin Brooks got a little bit from that spin, and I mean, with no surprise, Alex McCollum just giving a little bit of a pit maneuver on that of the 133 to get him spun around and out of the way. As here is the replay of the incident, and going to be watching the dive into the corner. McCollum giving the bump to the 133. He's been giving it a couple of times, and finally out of the corner. Now let's get you out of the way.
Yeah, gave a little bit of a bump, had the pace. I don't think the intention there, obviously, of turning him around there just was the timing of the line, trying to get to the quarter panel in that circumstance. And at that point, it's either you lift and you damage the front nose with him trying to save it, or you do that.
And also want to give a report. Alex McCollum, due to spinning out Steele Langford, was given an end-of-the-line penalty. So he'll be starting with that EOL behind the 046 of Dale Adamson. And no surprise, after seeing the shenanigans that some of the drivers were pulling on that first yellow flag pit stop, everyone into pit road for tires.
The thing is, we ran only a few laps. That's not a major difference on the tires. If anything, if you were to stay out here, you could probably play defense the rest of the way. Surprised to see everybody just say, let's go down here.
I mean, At the same time, though, I mean, all these drivers are also beating and banging so much off one another. You're willing to take just any damage repairs on top of the tires they're going to be getting. And so I'm not surprised by seeing this, but at the same time, I mean, this is such a more of an exhibition race than anything else with the low car count that we have as drivers get set and ready to get rolling again.
The reason for the is Caleb Hall rolled through the pit stall, came back out, stopped at the end of the pit lane for the pace car, took the race lead, basically played everybody else here like a fiddle. But even with the 2 tires of Brooks and Adamson here.
I mean, when you're playing as race control, sometimes you get to see things from an an outside view, and there's little small tactics that you can look up and try to grab. And for Caleb Hall, certainly found his way of getting that advantage.
Yeah, and now gets to be that control car potentially for the first time tonight. We've seen him be at the top line, make it work the last time. Choose Cone coming up on the front straightaway here as we're already quickly approaching halfway through stage 2. It's 150 lap race. The end of stage 2 projected to be around lap 110 here tonight, as that's a surprise.
Why would he go to the outside?
You know why? He's the control car in this circumstance. He can still get a good launch up on that top line if he is the first on the throttle, and you can clear to get back to the bottom off the turn 1 and 2 if you're able to quickly clear for the flag stand. If he times it up wrong, though, Justin Brooks has a prime opportunity for his first lead of the night.
I mean, he's got to be gutsy here. I mean, Justin Brooks has been very good on these restarts, even when he's in second place. They're going to be lingering back, try to set up for this restart as we are ready to go green once again. And Justin Brooks needs to make sure he's at that quarter panel. He isn't. And there it goes. Going to be Hall diving it down low and clearing. Great start for race control.
Exactly what I was talking about when it comes to that circumstance. Here comes Marquette, though. Thought about a send, backs out of it. Here comes Adamson, nearly turning Marquette, bumped from behind from Langford, as McCollum has the power up on the outside.
You can just tell these drivers in the back that have seen Marquette, and there's the bump. Spun, saves it. It's going to be Alex McCollum, but battling for that 5th, now back to 6th and the 8th. He's got a rebound as they continue to race on, but for the lead, Justin Brooks getting a little bit antsy with that 33 to the back bumper of race control.
Brooks trying to familiarize himself with that cone. There is an actual cone on the back end of the car. Figurative actual cone. And right now, he's choosing the outside of it, now choosing the inside of it, now choosing both sides of it, as it's a 3-car bump draft for the race lead.
I mean, those arrows giving a good indication. If you hit me here, I'll go spin. Hit me there, I'll go around as well. Just giving you the great pointers, as well as seeing Dustin Marquette get into the mix, and Cecil Langford and Marquette both just say, you know what, if I'm tired of seeing a driver in front of me, I'm going to move them out of the way. The question is for Justin Brooks as well as that of race control. They've been racing pretty clean around one another. There's been a tap here or there, but now that with having the wild card factor of that of Marquette in the mix, I'm curious on how these front two want to race this one out with a 16 right on the back bumper of Brooks.
Marquette trying to send it hard to the brakes throughout all of this. Brooks still waiting for a chance to be able to push forward around the race control machine. Top 3 are pulled away by nearly a full second already. Drifting on up, here come the blocks. Caleb Hall forces Brooks up top side.
Great defensive line to hold off Brooks, but it honestly is just giving more space. For the 16 is, oh boy, what a save. It's going to be race control with another defensive move. It gets spun around. They both go around. Marquette splits the middle, but race control continues to stay straight, holds the lead, and we get that yellow flag coming out.
Well, that got ugly very quickly, to say the very least, and there is defensive and then there's massive blocking there, and in that case, we've seen the circumstance that the tough thing is, in case the Brooks spin there, there's not much lower you can go there, and it just seemed like as he was trying to lock it down to prevent Caleb Hall from spinning out, just locked himself around, have to take another look possibly as they come to the pit lane.
Into pit row, no surprise. Everyone comes in, want to get those fresh tires. Now, the reason why they're able to come in so many times is because there is an unlimited amount of sets of tires in pit road for these drivers. And because some of the drivers were taking sets in that first stage, everyone just said, you know, let's go for it. But there's that block very late by Caleb Hall in race control, and then Brooks just gets right on that back bumper and then spun around as the 33.
Looked like trying to jab at the brakes there with a bit of the circumstances that going a lot quicker into the corner to try and prevent, or rather, once the bump was in, trying to prevent from going fully around. Marquette, of course, finishing the job. Significant damage to Brooks. Two drivers did stay out. Now they're playing games of who wants to join the pit lane party. Neither of them is the answer.
I mean, at this point, you got to play the games. With such a small field, you got to figure out how to ways to entertain yourself, to make these 150 laps just enjoyable and trying to survive to make it to the end, recognizing, okay, we played our games during stage 1, stage 2. We've been a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more on the compact side of everyone keeping it close. Now let's try to keep things at least a little fun while we're pacing for these laps. Again, stage 2 at lap 110 is the lap counter that we're getting to. Once we get to the end of lap 110, we will then have our stage break as the drivers have caught up. They're ready to go racing. Pace car is off. We'll see if we'll stay green to that of our stage 2 break or not. It's Steele Langford not waiting. He's already gone down into turn number 1 with that of a 5-car length lead over race control and Alex McCullum.
Side by side for the battle for 4th position still as the JBD design machines look to battle it out. McCollum looks to play the lines. McCollum looks to now run away in 3rd as into 4th goes Brooks.
Brooks holding on for now, but you can kind of tell that Dustin Marquette's trying to figure out where to place himself to try to get moving. That 33, though, of Justin Brooks. Now he gets to see the back bumper of Alex McCullum, and this is when things get a little interesting. McCullum and Langford both did not come into pit road, so they're on slightly older tires. We'll see if there's any advantage with these tires moving on this stint. It's going to be Justin Brooks just trying to dive it in a little bit harder that time, inching closer and closer to the back bumper, but for the lead, heavy blocks on Langford onto that of our new leader, race control of Caleb Hall.
Caleb Hall able to cross up Langford. Langford looking to cross him up in turn. Thought about the bump, backs it down. Now McCollum bumps Langford out of the way. Up to 2nd as Langford turns hard left. They bounce off the doors. McCollum goes up the track. McCollum looks to catch back up as Hall looks to run off and away from the craziness.
Often that is the safest place to be currently on track, is just trying to pull away from madness. Still Langford, not a fan of the fact that he was bumped, and I think for that 133, he's starting to get a little bit of karma with the amount of aggressive driving he was doing in stage number 1. It doesn't surprise me that some drivers are going to be a little bit more aggressive to Langford here.
Marquette's car looks more like a super late model than a late model stock with the damage right now around the car. Curled on up with the back bumper in the front end. Marquette still able to clear on by Langford. Up to 4th position. Closes up to Brooks as they look to battle it out. These are the final 5 cars on the track, all covered by 1.4 seconds.
That's 046. Dale Adamson, well, he got a decent debut. Going to get a 6th place finish for himself. Not able to make it to the end of stage 2, but the final 5, who have been some of the most entertaining drivers all season long. I mean, if you wanted 5 drivers to put on a show, this is certainly the group that you wanted to see.
Some of the best drivers on the platform here, indeed, when it comes to short track racing. Hall trying to use the second groove a little bit. McCollum trying to round the bottom fully. Brooks trying different lines. Marquette just trying to push and pedal that car around at this point. Hard off, hard into the corners in turn still, regardless of the major sends. Still approaching that mark quickly. Under 20 to go in this stage.
And all these drivers here doing their best to try to go for a win. Steele Langford bouncing off the wall, and just like what he's been saying for most of the season, top 3, top 4 drivers in front of him. For that, besides of race control, but for Alex McCullum, Justin Brooks, and Marquette, the 3 drivers we see on screen, as there's a dive bomb move for the 33, trying to get by Alex McCullum. These 3 drivers have found their way into victory lane, and they're going to hope to do it once again here tonight. Steele Langford, as well as race control of Caleb Hall, they have not this season, but a little bit of slipping and sliding. Marquette holds on for the 16. Same for that of Alex McCullum.
Still bumping and banging still for those positions as McCollum looks to want to go. McCollum tries to get the run, nearly hits the wall. Brooks looks to run. 7/10 the gap for the lead. Last time by a 20.5 for Caleb Hall. Brooks now with the full lap of being able to settle on down. Picks up 0.5 of a second. Already has picked up a bit of that tempo by about 0.5, in fact a full 10.
And that is a lot of speed from the 33. And you got to be thinking for Caleb Hall, since he's been up front trying to gap himself from the rest of the field, how much overdriving has he been doing, trying to build that gap? And has he been just using up those tires just a little bit too much? Now, he's part of that group that did come into pit road and take tires. So for that of Caleb Hall, Justin Brooks, they're both part of that group. Alex McCullum did not take tires under our last yellow, so slightly older for the 8. That Justin Marquez has just been so beat and battered and bruised, riding in fourth, hoping for the best. Still Langford continues to scrape the wall and fading backwards, but the battle for the lead, Justin, starting to heat up just a little bit here as each lap, you get to see that lead get cut in by a 10th or even by a couple of hundredths, and that 33 is getting bigger in the mirror.
Brooks continues to show the balance, heading right in the 33's wheelhouse. Brooks had been struggling a bit in the early going. Now, in the later going, things look calmer for the 33. Justin Brooks, hard in the brakes, within a car length now. 0.3 back, make it a full side-by-side with a drift from Caleb Hall. Here comes Brooks for the lead.
Well, from 0.3 to losing the lead, coming across the line, that's got to be tough for that of Caleb Hall, but certainly he's going to try to get back into the gas. Just one simple mistake of trying to get into the throttle too soon, and it really was costing that 000, and now got to be back in and a little bump. Hey, if I lost the lead, it's all right. I'll give you another contact, and now it's Alex McCullum taking the lead, 2 for 1 on the front stretch.
Caleb Hall drops back to 4th position with that. Brooks now wants to look back at McCollum. McCollum looks to try and run away again. Coming up to the end of lap 90, Brooks trying to square forward, looking to dime in the corner as McCollum drifts around.
And for these drivers, again, the official lap count we're trying to get to is lap 150. That will be the end of the race. But for stage number 2, we're racing to that of lap 110. So we got 20 laps to go. Coming to 19, that is Justin Brooks, Alex McCullum, right back at it.
Brooks still riding the back bumper of McCollum. How will this play out? Will Brooks want the lead, or will he play the patience game? He's nearly at the back bumper again. No peak yet. Dead even on the brakes. Down to the bottom they go. Brooks tries to drift it up, follows McCollum up the track as he rides the bumper.
And it makes sense to see both these drivers, 2 drivers that have really been very fast, and the 2 to win at courses that have been a lot more on the flatter side of short track racing. Alex McCullum able to get a win just a couple of weeks ago. And then you've got Justin Brooks that won the 2nd week of racing. And we're seeing these drivers now on top of one another, keeping the action, at least entertaining for us up in the booth. Closest battle on track is this one for the lead as well for the battle for 4th. But for Justin Brooks, the question is, with all those slides that he's had so far for the 33, he's keeping it in a close proximity. But Justin, how many more opportunities is he truly going to have before he can throw away any opportunities of trying to take this lead before stage is up and done?
Well, how many laps to go are there? Times that by 2 when it comes to the stage. That's the amount of sets of corners left to go, and that's gone down by 2 since the start of that point. Brooks wants that mark right now, though. McCollum gives him the space. Brooks trying to get the run. Now nearly leans on the 8.
I mean, if you can't use just your 4 tires, why not use an extra 4 and lean on the driver to your outside? Justin Brooks trying his best not to, but he might have to. Coming out of the corner, it's going to be Alex McCullum fading for a quick moment. You look at the cleanness of the outside aero-wise of these cars, and it's the 8 that's got the better advantage, but the 33, doesn't matter how scraped up it is, how much that rear end's cocked up. It is going to be Justin Brooks for the lead for now, but the big driver that I'm worried about is going to be Dustin Marquez. He's slowly chipping in and closing in on our top 2.
Last time by, picked up about a 10th or 2 on Brooks and company. Last time by, another 10th on McCollum, who was in that battle. Marquez nearly licks the wall down. Marquette and Langford are both gaining on these top two overall. They were a fair bit back before all this. Now, they are right in the thick of things. So long as they keep it off the walls, as Marquette still struggling with the damage a bit on corner exit.
Also, kind of a shocker that we saw right on that last time that we went green, about that of 25 laps ago. It was race control of Caleb Hall that was leading this thing. He's now back in 5th, 2.5 seconds off of Justin Brooks. Really been struggling since he's been passed for the lead. Is that of Caleb Hall in the 000, as up front, Justin Brooks looking good, kind of getting into a rhythm. 33's found some extra speed out of nowhere is Justin Brooks currently, as we're coming up to the final 10 laps of stage 2.
Closing in quickly at the end of the stage, Brooks looks to set sail. McCollum might try and sort things together. Is this the calm before the storm is the question, Sam, because for some drivers it takes a few laps to save the tires, wind it up, and then go for the charge. It almost feels that way when it comes to McCollum's case here.
I think also it could be a little bit of understanding, hey, we're coming into this stage. There's no real stage points that we're racing for. It's just a breakup point. We're going to get these tires, and then we're going to be going into the shortest stint of racing that we're expected to see, a 40-lap shootout. Or, I mean, less than 40 laps. I believe it's going to be 35 to 34-lap shootout to finish out this race once we're done with stage 2. And I think everyone's kind of in that mind frame of, well, this is about to get chaotic here very shortly. Let's just survive to the stage break. But as I say that, Alex McCollum found a good launch at turn 2. He's looking like he's been just saving, letting these tires cool off for a quick moment, and now get into his charge.
And keep in mind, they have fresh boots coming up in the pit lane regardless here, so that might be also a bit on his mind in terms of how they pace themselves here. Coming up to 6 to go in the stage. And in the case of McCollum, 44 led laps. It's been a dominant run for the 8th. The only driver still running who hasn't led laps is Marquette. And I think he's still your wild card out of all this, where Marquette's still good on the short run, but that damage is destroying the pace and the grip for the 16 long run.
Well, I'm also curious on how Langford and Marquette are going to react on the next restart, because they both showed during stage 1 and through a little bit of stage 2, they're willing to really beat and bang off of each other and other drivers. I'm curious if everyone's just going to lay it on the line and just say, you know what? We're just going to wreck each other for this win. We're not going to try to race it out. It's just going to be whoever survives the demolition derby that's going to be this final stage.
Bit of a drift, though, for Brooks. Here comes the round of battling. Coming up down to 4 laps to go in the stage. Now McCollum to the back bumper nearly of Brooks. Brooks starting getting a little bit snap heavy. Lost a 10th last time by from it.
This is looking kind of identical to what happened to that of Caleb Hall just about that of 20, 30 laps ago when he lost the lead. When he started to see the 000 get into that rear end, a little snappy, and then it was Justin Brooks that was the driver lingering in second place to take the lead away. But now it's Alex McCollum in a decent spot, and now the pressure's on this 33. Can he keep it smooth for these next 2 laps, or will he get a little bit antsy and jab the gas just a little bit too soon?
McCollum trying to go a little bit deep on the brakes. Nearly gets the bumper, loses ground as a result. Coming up to the final time around for stage 2 this time by. Brooks looking to close it out, has led the past 15 laps.
Across the line, 1 more lap to go here for stage number 2. It's going to be 2 tenths, almost 3 tenths going into the corner. And for Alex McCollum, that's a large gap. Unless he really wants to just dive bomb it into this corner, which would just throw away any opportunity of going for a win. Gonna see what he could do on raw pace. Closes in on the center of the corner. A little bit of a wiggle for the 33. But Justin Brooks across the line. He'll take stage number 2 here this evening at Martinsville, as we're 2 stages down. 1 more to go for that of the Crown Jewel E Late Model Stock Car Series. This is race number 9 of the season, week 7 in total. As my name is Sam Dyer, with me is Justin Prince with LSRTV Studios in the background. Been a very odd night. A lot of the laps aren't the right number of laps, as we're only racing to that of 150 is going to be the end of this race. And Justin, that is now the number that is on the drivers' minds from here on out.
Brooks, McCollum, Mombercat have all looked pretty solid so far as Langford tries to join the conversation. But in terms of the point, it's been a stellar race. Yes, it's been a smaller grid tonight, but it's put on a lot of dramatic racing, to say the least. A lot of bumping and banging, a lot of strategy, a lot of hard-fought racing, and mixtures in between of good, respectful racing. It's been an intriguing night where you've seen all sorts of spectrum, or racing across the spectrum, should say.
Oh, absolutely. And I think now this is going to be an interesting time for Steele Langford because we've seen him practically take 2 tires almost every single stop. Will he take 2 tires this go around, or will he take 4 like the rest of the field's been going for? And Alex McCollum, he'll be testing things out with 2 tires.
This might be McCollum's way to try and win this race at this point. Your bet's made. For most of these drivers, it looks like Mombercat taking some time for a little bit of repairs, but other than that, ding ding, get ready for a wild round for the final stage.
Final stage, these drivers are racing to is lap 150. That is our marker, as I know it says 300. There was a little bit of an error setting up this session. Lap 150 again is our marker to the end of this race. Again, thank you for joining us on LSRTV Wednesday night short track racing action. There's still one more race to go this season. That's going to be next week. Drivers going to that of Southern National Motorsport Park for 200 laps is the scheduled amount of laps. And Justin, that should be an interesting one, especially with how tonight's race has been a little bit smaller, but that field next week should be a lot bigger. And at Southern National, you never know what type of carnage we could be seeing then.
Yeah, it's been an intriguing season, to say the very least. And when it comes to Southern National, I think it's going to be another one of those wild types of nights. But in regards to the season, how things play out for the top 3, how things play out for the points, how things play out in general, it's been a stellar campaign, to say the least. Some of the top drivers in all the service making starts this campaign. It's been fun to call this series.
It certainly has. And tonight, it's been a blast to watch. Drivers have been antsy. They were antsy to start, a little bit delayed, but we are ready to see how this final stage will run. And it's going to be seeing that of Alex McCollum out of turn number 2, looking strong, but it's side by side, 2 rows deep. And Mombercat able to clear over that of Langford, but that second place battle, I mean, they have been side by side for a while. It's going to be that of Caleb Hall, Justin Brooks, once again, second place, battling on.
Still keeping it up as Hall tries to use the outside, bounces off of Brooks, up the track he goes. Here comes Mombercat. Mombercat jumps up to 3rd position, looks for the deeper send, gets it to stick, move Mombercat back inside the top 3 again.
And now we're right back to where we were before, that stage break yellow. But now with fresh tires, a little bit more strategy calls, drivers stacked up on top of one another, but Alex McCollum taking the 2 tires only at that stage break, knowing that this was going to be a much shorter stint, hoping that the 2 tires will stick, while Justin Brooks, Mombercat, and others recognizing it is go time. They got to catch up to that 8 machine, but how quick do you want to catch up to them? Do you got to make this pass immediately, or can you be patient, Justin, on the fact knowing that McCollum's only taking 2 tires?
Well, if you do it rapidly, you use up a lot of your tire wear, and a lot of the tire heat in turn builds up in that rubber. So in other words, I think more so the gradual approach, or pressurizing the mistake, is the better way to do it, Sam. Because if you try and go full out now, you might not have the tires to be able to hold on if you get the job done in about 20 laps, let alone have a chance in the next 20.
Drivers coming across the line, 30 laps to go for the drivers here this evening. We are only going to halfway. Lap 150 is the marker. Alex McCollum going to be having a half-second lead over Justin Brooks, but that battle for 4th is starting to look a little antsy as Caleb Hall and Steele Langford, they've been battling at the end of stage 2 a little bit. It looks like Langford going to be trying to position himself for 4th place.
Langford has the bottom, tries to round the bottom. Tries to make it stick at the quarter panel. Oh, not making it easy with the squeeze, though. Shuts the door. Langford tries to poke his toe back into the door. Able to force the door a bit open. The door gets bounced into. Both of them bounce off into each other in the walls as they try and still battle it out.
I mean, this has been the big thing. I mean, Caleb Hall in that race control 000, he has been on the outside doing a much wider entry into the corner, but I think for Langford, he recognizes, hey, if I can get aggressive, get my nose in there, I might have an opportunity, and here we go. Out of the corner, once again, almost bouncing off the way they go. There's the bounce we were expecting. In the corner, Hall no longer trying to do a little bit of wider extension. He just wants to stay close, beat and bang, and see if he can hold off this 133 as they continue to put on the showdown into turn number 3. And I mean, this can't last for long. It's still Langford obviously takes the advantage.
Langford clears on by after a lot of the bumping and the rubbing. Here comes Hall with the bumper. Shows the frustration a touch bit there, but still able to keep it clean regardless. They've lost a couple seconds to the battle for the top 3. Keep in mind, McCollum's still up at the front, with Brooks and Monberquette as more bumps for Langford. Gonna hold on to it as we jump up to second.
This battle for second place, that lead has gained by about a 1/10.5. So no surprise to continue at that as they continue Langford and Caleb Hall. They're probably gonna wreck each other by the end of this night. But if it's not on the last lap, certainly it's going to be after this race is done. But our front 3, pretty equal distance between themselves, about 6/10 between each other on that of first place to second place, and second place to third. And that patience, it's starting to wear thin as we're closing in on those final 20 laps here this evening. Alex McCollum in the 8. Once he's gotten the lead, it's been hard for anyone to pass him, but Justin Brooks, he might be the driver that can do it, but that of Justin Monberquette, Justin, you threw it out there, hasn't led a lap at all this evening, but he qualified second. It's been an uphill battle all night long for him.
Yeah, Monberquette's car at this point absolutely demolished. I don't know if it's going to have enough speed to be able to get there unless there's a late race restart, and he uses all of the bumpers. And I mean all of the bumpers that he can use in all of the doors. But in all seriousness, Monberquette's still able to keep things running towards the end here. Have to give him credit for trying to tough things forward and look to try and get solid points by the end of the night and solid position by the end of the night after what's been a wild night for the Canadian.
It has been crazy. It's been unknown. It's been practically everything that you could say. I mean, flabbergasted of how this night started could be the best way, because this race was initially supposed to be an hour before, and then it got delayed, and then the drivers were notified as this race was being delayed that they were going to cut this race by 50 laps, and then only about half the field showed up for the race. So it was very interesting how everyone was entering, and I think because of the fact that everything was so delayed, the drivers were so flustered as there's Monberquette just losing the grip, a little bit of focus there, slamming the wall, and that also could slam shut his opportunities for a win if we stay green. But I think for a lot of these drivers, the fact that this was delayed in frustration really was one of the bigger factors on why these drivers were so aggressive in that first stage. It kind of took out the chances for Steele Langford and Monberquette with how much damage they gave to one another, let alone what they had collected for the second stage and into this third.
Well, with the contact with Howell and Monberquette, you have to factor in is Monberquette getting loose. There's a look at Langford as well, and you're right about the damage. Langford's had a little bit of bumping and banging in a lot of circumstances. Front bumper is a bit damaged. Not as bad as Monberquette, but here's the tough thing. Langford, long run, just hasn't seemed to have the pace by about a 1/10 of a second. And on a short track like this, that is still a significant portion of ground, because about 3 seconds back, like he is to the race leader, is nearly a quarter of the racetrack, nearly a full corner here at Martinsville currently. And that's a long distance to be behind right now.
Yeah, it is. That is a mountain that you probably cannot climb at this moment if we continue to stay green, and it's a tough one. As we get to see the drivers, this is what the gap looks like for the drivers battling from 3rd, 4th, and 5th. You see our front 2 already into turn number 1 and 2, and Alex McCollum, Justin Brooks, they've been running so well. Steele Langford, race control out of Caleb Hall. I mean, coming in, recognizing this field was going to be a little bit smaller, but race control doing a decent job here this evening as well.
And Caleb Hall, of course, also a very solid short track racer in his regard. He's been doing a lot of work, has really impressed me in a lot of the cases we've seen for the race control side, because it's a tough job, as you know, to be a race control organizer. and to try and organize a field of competitors. And it's been really intriguing to see how that driver has handled that role this season, as well as being the choose code in the form of a car.
Yeah, he's had a couple of big wrecks this year. I'd say he's been a part of some of the biggest ones. Just pulling out as the choose car, sitting on the backstretch, letting drivers decide if they want to go, if they want to be on the inside, the outside. A couple of drivers weren't able to make decisions and ran into the back of the choose cone throughout this season. But yeah, I mean, to add on, I mean, it has been a tough season for race control all year long. It started off with a lot of intentional wrecks. They've cleaned that up. Now it's more so of just racing business, trying to go for positioning and not retaliation of after a move has been made. And big kudos for the league on trying to clean that up. And there's talks of a second season coming around at some point potentially here, but got to say, for the way this season's been going, the racing at least has been the big thing that has kept us intrigued and always interested on how each week is going to come around. And even tonight, drivers might be beaten, battered, and bruised, and we're down to our final 10 laps, coming to 9 when we come across the line. Alex McCullum was my odds-on favorite to really go for the wins this season. He's only gotten one. He's trying to get his second win so far. These are two drivers that have been putting on some of the best shows of beating and banging off one another here in stage number 3. But overall, this season's been a good one, as we've got tonight's race closing down. Next week going to be the last race of the season, and we hope next week can be just as entertaining as tonight has been, as this battle for fourth, it will not stop until that last lap is done. And again, that's lap 50. When we are done with the conclusion of lap 50, that is when this race has concluded.
Down to about 8 laps to go in this one. Justin Brooks running out of time up at the front. As there goes the trouble at the back of the field. Caution is out, and now it gets interesting.
And I believe because the caution comes out on lap 143 to 144, this could be putting us technically into a green-white overtime scenario.
Yeah, and now this is exactly what McCollum did not want to see here, Sam. Now anything could happen strategy-wise, as take a look. Tail of the tape really says it all here for 1 and 2.
As they dive on in, just tries to get on the throttle, gets a little bit of help, and Caleb Hall, there, got to get a little bit of damage repair for yourself.
And into the pit lane goes McCollum and Brooks. Monberquette and Langford have not come in, though. So a big shakeup here that could change how this plays out, exactly what the fear has to be if your drivers like McCollum here. 2 tires, and on top of things, losing a spot to Brooks.
And what goes from bad to worse to absolutely terrible, Alex McCollum went from a leader that was in a solid position to try to go for the win. If we had stayed green, Steele Langford now going to go into pit road. No surprise, I think he was going to get hit with an EOL penalty for the 133.
Look at this.
But Alex McCullum, now he's going to be pushed to 3rd. I mean, this gives him a little bit of wiggle room, but he might have to go to the outside if he wants to make the pass.
And it looks like Langford and Caleb Hall watching to the side. It's down to these 3 to win this race. Oh boy, get ready for a boxing match, a fireworks show, and a mariachi band, all performing at the exact same time with how this could play out for the race lead.
Dustin Monberquette, he's found himself in the victory lane twice. Justin Brooks as well has done it twice. Alex McCullum trying to get his 2nd win of the season, if possible. And for Monberquette, 32 lap older tires to the other drivers, and it looks like race control Caleb Hall will be able to, he's going to give himself at least his lap back, get back on the lead lap as he's back on course. So it's going to be 4 drivers now on track, potentially. Steele Langford now going to get back on course. We'll see if he'll get one of his last pack, and it looks like it.
Looks like they've taken the time to get the damage repairs done as Langford tips around. Black flag cleared for them as well. So all 5 drivers here, and like it with the size of the drivers here, everyone has a chance here to be able to battle for this lead, as potentially could be a green-white checkered scenario, a natural GWC. Yes, lights are out.
Lights are out. Again, we're looking at the end of lap 150. If we stay green, that is the window we're looking for, as Brooks going to be down low. It's going to be Caleb Hall going to the outside. Then we're also going to be seeing to the outside. It's going to be Steele Langford. All three drivers. Alex McCullum just went from having the lead before this yellow. He'll be back to fifth. He's about to watch madness because we're going to have the inside of regulation, green, white, checkered. Will we go into overtime? It's time to find out as race number 9 here for the Crown Jewel E Late Model Stock Car Series. It's time for madness as we roar down into turn number 1.
Marquette makes it stick. Brooks gets a little bit of love taps. Hall up the track. Langford drips on by. Bound for the lead. Brooks dives in underneath. Marquette tries to squeeze as they send it into 3.
And all about, can we get the white flag? If we get to the white flag, we race it to the end. As white flag is out, it's going to be Justin Brooks leading for now. Marquette gets shoved out of the way. Brooks gets the bump. He's going to be sideways. Holds on for now, as there's going to be one more opportunity. Justin Brooks by that of Alex McCullum, but it's too far back. Brooks needs a good launch out of the corner. Here comes McCullum. Justin Brooks with the wiggle, but the space in the win here at Martinsville goes to the 33 of Justin Brooks.
What a finish amongst these drivers, as someone better tell them that this is down towards this mark. I don't think they've noticed they're on lap 151 here yet, as Brooks still trying to hold on, still holds on regardless here.
I mean, they're going to keep on racing as hard as they want, but I guess they're going to think that that was the finish. Wanted to go at one more extra lap, give himself some space, but it still will be Justin Brooks getting the win. Great battling between himself and Alex McCullum there. Great respect. And there's going to be Marquette and others as they came across the line. It's going to be Justin Brooks, Alex McCullum, as well as Steele Langford, that of Dustin Marquette, and race control, that of Caleb Hall, going to be your finalist drivers. Top 5 where they lied. As they come across, going to be trying to line up, give each other spins and spills. I think all of them recognizing, hey, this race is over. It's been a long one, especially with the small field.
Everybody's a winner.
Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's post-race show. We'll talk to our top 3s if they're available. They might have to run and get to another race. So we'll be back in just a few. We'll find out if we get our top 3. We'll be back in just a few moments. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a weird night, and let's make it even weirder. Our top 3 will not be able to make it for interviews, but thank you for joining us here tonight as we're here at Martinsville. Again, we do not have the race results as they were messed up. I gave you a rundown of our top 5 there real quick. But Justin, a weird night, but still some good racing with only 5 drivers making it to the end.
Can say this when it comes to these drivers. Justin Brooks had to fight tooth and nail for a lot of the fights up front. But that late race caution with under 6 to go really changed the game. McCollum had a good chance before that mark, but now it's Brooks who gets the chance to celebrate in turn after the end of a wild one. And guess what? He was that driver who was in the midst of the battle for the Virginia Triple Crown before tonight.
I mean, gotta say, what a night it's been. The Virginia Triple Crowns have been concluded. We now know our 3 winners of those races. First ones were won by that of Ryan Kuhn, who won the first and second race of our Virginia Triple Crown. The third one going to that of Justin Brooks. Congratulations. And Justin, before we get out of here, I'll give the floor to you for any final thoughts before we get out of Martinsville and head to that of Southern National.
Entertaining race, even with the cars, yes. But it was a wild night, wild battles, wild strategies, and a wild finish to close it out. What a finish here tonight.
It was a crazy one, had to go into inside of regulation overtime, and Justin Brooks got the win. We got one more race left here for that of the Crown Jewel E Late Model Stock Car Series, and that is going to be next week at Southern National Motorsports Park for that of 200 laps. It's going to be a wild one for sure, but hey, we got more racing action here on LSRTV tomorrow night. That of the Northwest Truck Series. Going to be racing at Nashville Super Speedway. If you want to see a field that's a little bit bigger, has more laps, and potentially going to be even more contact and great racing, come and watch us tomorrow night. But for this evening, thanks for joining myself, Sam Dyer, Justin Prince, in LSRTV Studios. For us here at Wednesday Night Short Track Racing, thank you for watching. Congratulations to Justin Brooks, and we'll see you next week.